What is going on YouTube? Today, as promised, we are going to look at finances in MMA. So first up, we're going to look at training costs. In my experience at gyms, most charge between £30 and £80 per month depending on how many sessions they offer. You may also go to more than one gym per month. If you go visit other gyms and you do one-off sessions, it's probably going to cost you between £5 to £10 for that one session. Lastly, if you've got an instructor to yourself and you're having a private session, for instance strength and conditioning, it's probably going to cost you £20 to £40 for that session, which is normally 45 minutes to an hour. If you're a coach yourself at the gym, the rest of the training will probably be free. Next up, one of my main costs is running a car. So roughly I'd say this costs me at least £1,000 without any faults a year. That's including insurance, servicing and MOT. Per month without any special trips anywhere, I'd say I'd spend roughly £80 on petrol. Moving on to living costs and more specifically food and rent. I'm very fortunate in that my parents actually pay for both of these currently, so they don't charge me for rent to live at home and they pay for all the food that's in the house. But when I was at uni, I spent about £50 a week on food. It's quite expensive eating healthily. And again, depending where you live, I'd estimate the rent could be between £200 to £1,000. For instance, if you live in London, it can be very expensive depending on your quality of life. Next up is social. So I guess this is kind of indicative of the modern age. I put phone under social, so I normally pay anywhere between £20 and £40 a month. I'm on contract, but it has varied depending on where my contract is at the time. That also includes music like Spotify. Everyone who's been watching this channel probably knows I love eating out. I love food in general, and I'd say eating out once a week is probably going to cost me about £80, maybe £60 a month, so £15 to £20 a week. But I am trying to cut that down, especially as I'm leaving my job next month. In terms of entertainment, I don't really go by too much. I try and keep it simple. I mainly have a Netflix subscription, that's about £8 a month, and then maybe once a year I'll pay £50 a month for a PlayStation 4 subscription. Remember guys, these are running costs, not the cost of buying computers, buying PlayStations, everything else. Lastly, other costs that I've pretty much cut out and are relatively non-existent now, but I used to partake in a lot, would be going out, shopping, for instance clothes, cinema, which could be £10 a pop each time, and travelling. Unless it's MMA or training related, I really try not to travel too much. I'd love to, it's definitely one of my goals in life to go travelling as much as possible, but you have to be sustainable and be smart with your money. Now we're going to look at amateur MMA shows. In my experience, if you sell a £30 standard seat ticket, you'll make £10, so 33%. So you've got the travel cost of actually getting to the event, normally works out as petrol. You've also got to pay for the hotel and potentially take days off work. But a lot of shows do cover these expenses, especially if it's at later notice. Again guys, if you've been on the channel for a while, you probably know that I've competed in IMAF a lot, which is kind of the highest standard of amateur mixed martial arts. So I thought I'd break down for you guys what an IMAF tournament costs to participate in. So for the entry fee and the hotel, which is about a week, maybe just under, you're looking at £600+. This is a not-for-profit organisation and the cages are surprisingly expensive and they have to employ a lot of people to run it. I've been to 3 tournaments in total, 2 in Europe and 1 in the Middle East, and I'd say the flights cost me between £100 and £350. If you want to get a single room, you have to pay a supplement, which is £200. I've done this twice. You have to do medicals and blood work, which will cost between £50 and £150 normally per year. You need spending money for the week, and you probably go a couple days early to make sure you're not like jet lagged or feeling too rough, and you'll need money for food as only breakfast is included. In the build up, you'll need enough money to get across the country, so we've had multiple locations for our squad training sessions. Moving on to my past medical experiences. So this has normally cost me between £40 and £50 per session. I think for my last injury, I went about every 3 weeks and did about 4 to 5 sessions. I have in the past had more serious injuries though, and the NHS times are so long, a couple times I have actually elected to pay and go privately, which is very expensive but can speed up the process a lot. So you have to see a consultant, which can be in the region of like £200, £150 for a session. It is expensive. And the MRI itself, again privately, is going to be around £500, possibly more. So guys, bear in mind I don't have any sponsorship experience, but of the people that I know, they have told me that they themselves have experienced this and they know people that have. So lots of young up and coming fighters don't actually get paid unless it's commission. They just get free stuff. Obviously it completely depends on the situation. Some people have better relationships with the companies they work with, they've known them longer, they might get more money, but just as a rough one that I've heard before, you might get £100 as an amateur for a sponsor for that fight camp. I've also heard that whilst a lot of people do complain about the Reebok guys, as it can be hard in Europe to get sponsorship, $2,500 roughly as a base isn't actually that bad. Finally guys, we've got pro shows. Obviously I'm still an amateur, and again this is kind of talking to other people and just knowing people kind of in the business. So initially as a pro you'll get paid very little. It could be between £200 and £400 plus ticket sales, which is even on the bigger shows. A high amount for example would be £1,500 and getting a win bonus on top of that, maybe a few hundred. Obviously you make more as you go along, and there's future opportunities such as seminars, merchandise and more. But considering the fact that a lot of the bigger European shows require medicals, for instance getting your brain scanned, which can be around £600, plus the cost of your camp, you might actually end up losing money on your first few fights looking to build towards the future. So people, I hope you found that interesting. Obviously some of those numbers were more specific, some were a bit more rounded and a bit more estimated as to what I've been told by people that I know. That was kind of the best short, compact list that I could think of. If there is anything that I've left off, I might have forgotten, drop it in the comments and I'll try and answer as best as possible. So I made this as more of a list of running costs. Obviously I haven't included how much I earn. It is below the national average. I do work part-time, but I don't want to put exactly how much I earn on the internet. Anyway guys, I'm training in about an hour and a half, then I'm coaching, so I'll see you at the gym. Very quick, Millie wanted to be on the vlog, so this is your moment to shine. Check it out, check it out. Oh!
Best focus!
Power! Techniques today. First one's going to be kimura. So we're in like kind of standard side control. I can come over and catch this arm. I can sit to my hip through, catch the wrist, come to my own wrist and figure four. Yeah, I can turn my wrist up, switch my knee back in. I can plant my head if I need to, walk around towards his head and step over. And I'm just going to come up, come over and finish here. If they do get stuck, you can always just finish over like this as well. You don't have to come up onto this knee. So you've kind of got two options to finish there. So again, we'll be in side control. You can switch to your hip like that, or if you guys want to, you can just, if their hands on this side of the head, you can just catch it straight off the bat. You can step over, you can post your head if you need to, or you can come up here. Again, so it's kind of two ways. You guys can do it if you want to. So I don't mind for the setup or the finish. Just kind of have a go with each, have a play about with it really. So in our stance, first option is going to be catch the arm, sit through, come over, step back, step over here, come up to our chest, down the back, finish there with the figure 4 grip. Or the other option can be, we can just come over, catch the arm straight away, step over the head, and just boom, tight to our chest with that arm. We've done before where I pinned the forearm with my shin, so we can finish up here, but we're going to do like a little inverted triangle. So all I'm going to do, especially if I want to like roll over to my side here, is I'm going to bring this leg and fish with my heel, fish under the armpit. I'm just going to do it slow because my ankle's a bit sore, so you could also catch it. And then I'm just going to bring this leg underneath the triangle here. You can also triangle this way. This way is even tighter, to be honest. So keeping the kimura grip now, instead of going straight up, it'll be hard to finish. I'm going to fall to my side, right? So I've got the triangle nice and tight. All I'm going to do, if I want to keep controlling the arm, I can hook and answer the phone, so I can grab my own ear. They might be thrashing about a bit at this point, trying to escape. So we can make the most of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this arm in tight. So like a normal triangle, I want this arm coming across their body, which puts the shoulder in the side of their neck and their artery, and it's going to choke them. So to finish, I can just get this angle here, keep my feet nice and pointed. So I close my knees, close off the space in the gap of the triangle. I bring my knees in towards my torso here. If I want, I could bring this arm over and try and finish, but obviously the floor's in the way, so can be a bit harder. So let's go for the triangle finish. So feet kind of heels out, toes nice and pointed, knees clamping together and coming into my chest. If I want as well, I could always grab the leg. If they bring their leg up, that actually makes it tight because it kind of compacts them more. And I'm just going to squeeze and pull this arm across. Yeah? So if you want to keep the arm, grab this one here, squeeze, boom. So knees coming together and into me. There are like other more advanced kind of variations for the finish after that as well, but we'll just leave it here for today. So I'm over the kimura grip, I'm going to step around, I'm going to fish with my ankle underneath here. I'm going to fall to my side and triangle underneath the back. So I want it deep. If my leg is here, it's going to be okay. If I can get it as deep as possible, yeah, over my ankle and keep my feet straight, it's going to be super tight. You want this arm, like I was saying, straight across here, and then I can just compress in and try to get the tap. If not, I can pull together and squeeze, knee to my stomach. If I want to abandon, I can always try and come back to the kimura grip and hold the leg as well. But personally, I would keep the arm. I can always cut my ear, like I was saying, and then if you need to readjust, that's a good time to control the arm as well, because if I don't control the arm and I want to get this tighter, I have to open my legs a little. They might try and punch the elbow out, yeah, boom. So if you control the arm, it won't matter, and you can cinch it up, because you'll probably have to adjust it a little bit. And then pull it in, and squeeze. So the main objective, because you're right. So my thigh is already across his neck, so that's kind of all tied up. So the main objective is get that shoulder in his neck and then get the nice squeeze. So people back home now after training followed on in the second session with more drilling. So we went after the same type of sequence, so inverted triangle kimura, did a bit more of that, and then we did some leg locks and then a load of wrestling drilling too. Obviously I was out at the gym, but come home and I've heard the good news. England have won the World Cup. Actually, that would be unbelievable. You sound such an idiot. We haven't won the World Cup, but we won our match against Colombia. Sounds like an unbelievable game, but it's coming home. Anyway, guys, it's going to wrap up the day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please drop it a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.